Sajad Lone, give me a sense of where you stand on the targeted killings that are taking place in the valley at the moment. Are we, as some fear, returning to that dreadful period of 89-90 where terrorists are able to frighten a section of the population? Kashmiri Pandits exodus took place in January of 1990. Now there are fears that whatever Kashmiri Hindu families are left in the valley, many of them government employees, all want to leave. Are we returning back to the past?
Look, first of all, let me tell you that, it's a very painful moment for us here in Kashmir when we see that unarmed civilians, innocents, are being killed by terrorists, by militants, by armed men, and they attack non-combatants, civilian people, for no fault of theirs, absolutely innocent people. And it's very difficult for us because, we are as helpless as those who are being killed, Rajdeep, let me tell you, in this painful moment, that it is not only the non-Muslims, not a day passes when a Kashmiri Muslim is not killed, in the form of a policeman being killed, in the form of someone they think who is an informer being killed. So we feel we are as pained and as helpless and as much at the receiving end. When you talk of is it returning, you see the reality is that whenever I have met you, Rajdeep, you decide in Delhi that there is normalcy, now there is not normalcy. I believe that a certain level of violence never went away. Never ever went away, a certain level of violence. And that is still there, which is that last vestigial, which is very, very perseverant and refuses to go. But then in Delhi, in the newsrooms, you decided it has gone, only to find out that it is not gone.
So are you saying, when you say last vestige, are you saying these are desperate acts of terrorists, that this is the last stand, or are you saying that the violence never left, now it's found a new target because it is spreading fear among the minorities? That is the Hindu community there. Yes, even Muslims have been killed, no one denies that. But it appears that targeted killings to spread fear and panic and create an exodus seems to be the modus operandi of the terrorist groups.
Look, I'll tell you something. I will repeat that yes, a certain level of violence. It was never violence-free in the last 30 years. You cannot say a single week when we have been violence-free. So first thing is that yes, it was never violence-free. It is not returning to something. Something is revealing itself. An underbelly, an ugly underbelly of what can happen is revealing itself. So it's not that that it is something new. It was there. And it has happened. And, yes, it could be that they want to scare. And the best thing we can do, Rajdeep, is, although it's very difficult for me to say, because I personally have security for myself, but I have also lost my father to bullets. So there has been violence in my family also. But the best way to defeat them is by not getting scared. Although, as I told you, that it's very easy for me to say, but those who are out there, it's very difficult.
No, that's exactly it. No, that's exactly. For you today to say on my program that people must not get scared, you have security, as you have admitted. The average person, this bank manager, has no security.
Yes,
there are hundreds of people without security. I go to a government job, I get shot dead. A chemist, one of the most famous chemists in Srinagar a few months ago got shot dead. These are helpless people. When today on my show you're saying you're helpless and don't get scared, how do people not get scared?
Rajdeep, when my father was killed, we were given 10 days, I'm saying it today, to leave. Or we will also be. I didn't leave. That's the reality. And I had no security. His Highness Farooqullah was the chief minister. He said, I will not give him security. For 3 months, I had no security after my father was killed. But I stayed back, and I'm happy I stayed back.
Sir, I know that you're happy you stayed back. You've been brave enough to stay back. But what about, I come back to it, at least politicians have security. Average people don't. I mean, the question is, what is the solution? Some believe that you've got to restore some element of political authority in Jammu and Kashmir, that having governor's rule, Delhi rule is not enough. Do you believe that's the solution? Or do you believe these terrorist groups will operate irrespective of whoever is in power in Srinagar or Delhi or Jammu?
Look, I'll tell you, as a politician, I'm tempted to agree wholeheartedly what you are saying. But the reality is that, as I told you, during political governments also, killings have taken place. Didn't Shujat Bukhari die during our time? Wasn't he killed in broad daylight? Weren't Pandits killed then? So, but yes, all I can say is that there is a certain element of aloofness, which I personally have not seen. I will tell you a simple thing. I have lost a member of the family to bullets. I belong to an area which is bordering the LOC. We have a lot of workers on the ground. I'm a public person. Till date, nobody has ever come to ask me, do you have any inputs to help? Not that I volunteer to help. But problem is that there are too many experts running like, headless chicken. That's the real problem.
No,
everybody seems to be an expert. You throw a stone, it will hit an expert. And every expert has to be a non-Kashmiri. That's another problem. So if you talk of that, yes, violence is in Kashmir, and they believe that externally, and I use the word, the non-Kashmiri thing, is that the locals have a flavor of what is happening. They can see things in the air which perhaps you might not be able to see or visualize.
No, but you're making very, very interesting point. But Sajad Lone, are locals willing to reach out to the so-called outsiders? In this case, Vijay Kumar, a banker, was from Rajasthan. Are they willing? Are local Kashmiri Muslims who are influential willing to try and see if they can do something to help? Or have you all now, particularly after Article 370's abrogation, is there a vacuum that exists now? And is there an absence of trust and dialogue?
Unlike the rest of the country, we have mothers here. You know, when we were jailed, we didn't see any mothers in the whole country. We only saw Indians. Fine, do this to them, do that to them. But I can tell you, my mother cried in the morning for what happened to that lady yesterday. Trust me, my hand on my heart, she was crying in the morning. I went to a marriage ceremony yesterday and people were talking about her purse, about her shoes. These are common people, feeling the pain but being helpless. Whether there is Article 370 or not is a different matter. But every Kashmiri, or I would say a vast majority of Kashmiris, are with these people. They don't want their name to be sullied by blood marks.
No, but they are also scared.
Indulging in violence. No, not at all. We are human beings like anybody else. There are mothers here who feel the pain. What if this guy was married 3 months back? You really think that there will be a vast majority of the population rejoicing that he was killed? No. But then they are scared. They are as scared as this person.
I'm going to ask you a provocative question. Do you believe that post Article 370 things have got better or not?
Things were never better in Kashmir. I told you that there was an element of violence which was always there. But then there is an element of management. I think the one of the problems that I see, and I'm not saying this as an act of weakness, but then violence has to be countered, operationally and also psychologically. In the psychological element, I think things have gone from bad to worse. The language that the officials use here is very overtly muscular. Very, very muscular. So I think they might do good to the whole country by leaving their so-called macho, muscular language, give it a break for a time, and work harder on on their intelligence apparatuses, on counter-insurgency measures and other things.
A final question. Do you believe, therefore, the atmosphere is such that it's impossible now to contemplate of a return to the political process, i.e. some kind of elections? Do you believe all of this is being done by Pakistan and local terrorist groups that have emerged, and their singular aim is to send out the message that Kashmir is once again unstable?
Look, I'll tell you something. I wouldn't link it to elections. I would not link it to elections. And I can tell you one thing, that this, you have to give it to any government. You cannot stop targeted killings. The only problem here is that the pat on the back, which has been going on for the last 3 years, that myth might have been busted. But you can never stop targeted killings, never. Even in a Gujarat or in a Delhi or in a Haryana. If there is some madman, some terrorist who wants to come and kill somebody, it's very difficult in this big world to stop that one person. It's not that easy. But having said that, I would always have thought that, I will repeat, that there is something called, there are regional aspirations. by regional representative, I mean locals. Maybe I used the wrong word. Locals, they have a flavor of what is happening. And things which might be invisible for somebody outside are visible to them. And they have a better hold. You know, this whole thing of trying to prove a point. Unfortunately, they are trying to prove a point at the cost of this poor bank manager. Let me repeat, if the terrorists who have killed them, we need not to give them any kick by our utterances. But yes, we also need to do some tidying up. The pat on the back, the muscular language. You know, you have to earn friends. This is a stealthy world, terrorism. It's all underground. And yes, you do need a lot of people who will penetrate there, do it on their own. And for that, you need to encourage them. Right. And you don't need to scare them. Scaring is not only from, you know, even I believe that if you come and meet Kashmiris today, there is an element of scare for the common Kashmiri from all sides, even from the state, unfortunately.
Let me leave it there. I would wish my producer would have flashed what you've just said, because you've said something extremely significant. You've said fear is there in both communities, Kashmiri Muslims and Kashmiri Hindus. And you're very clear that the time for muscular language is over. You need to find some other kind of language that builds the bridges between the two communities. And that is critical, Sajad Lone. I appreciate your joining us. And as you said, politicians have security. The Aam Aadmi of Kashmir does not. You will continue to have security. The Aam Aadmi of Kashmir will not.